So, the up-your-ass script was laying in the bottom of a drawer in my office at the factory, and Valerie was calling me, and she was screaming at me down the line, and I held the phone away, occasionally mumbling, you know, in that whatever you say kind of deal, because there was a vast number of girls and boys who wanted an in at the factory, and I had no idea, and I mean no idea of the meaning of Valerie's manifesto piece, scum, which means Society of Cutting Up Man. Jesus, that was a real sobering thought. I mean, she must have had some kind of a deal about guys, or was treated real bad. Made me glad to be a homosexual, I can tell you. Not that I made a big deal about either. So, the factory had relocated to Union Square, and we had moved on, and we were getting things done, and Valerie was calling me again, and again, and again, and again, until she finally demanded $25,000. What? No fucking way, Valerie, are you crazy? She went crazy at me. You son, sorry you ever said that? Do you hear me, Drella? Do you hear me? Yes, I hear you. So I put down the receiver, and I put my feet on the desk, and I went over in my head of what she just said to me, and it was a threat. It felt real. So I decided to tell her, hey, Valerie, you can have it by acting in one of my films. You may have it that way. Then you will be acclaimed by the critics, and you can command a fee from any filmmaker. She refused. And his rejection, as this is how she saw it, right, was unbearable. Not even I could see it exactly at the time. But I now realized that she was circling around, and she was restless. And her stare went right through you, man. Through him, through me, through everybody. The factory was a busy place. We was just fixing what we gotta do. Andy had a very strong work ethic. There was no time for hanging around. You had to get things done. Valerie knew the film was never gonna be made. And when it turned out to be a lie, an outright lie, that was too much for her. Andy was laughing in her face, snubbing her totally. Now, Valerie was very proud, too proud, and angry. Now, nobody knew Andy's movements back then. He would appear, he would disappear. Was he away? Would he be in? Anyway, eventually Andy would show, and Valerie turned up one morning at the factory looking for Andy, and she was agitated. 30 June 1968, she got 2 automatic pistols, and she was pounding the streets for over 3 hours looking for her targets. Is Andy in today? When is he in? We don't know. Paul Morrissey shouted, Andy's not coming in. And then Andy pulls up in a fucking cab. He pulls up in a fucking taxi. What we didn't realize was that she had just been down at Chelsea Hotel to shoot Morris Gerardias, her publisher. He was not there. So she decided to come on down to the factory to shoot Andy. She even chatted with Andy's new boyfriend when she suddenly pulled out the guns, aiming at Andy, firing at him, and missing him twice. Thank Christ. Andy fell to the floor. She tried to pump 2 more bullets into him, and then she hit him. She got him in the side as he was laying there. Julia, Andy's mother, showed up at 4 a.m. in the morning to pray for him, and she stayed, and she prayed, and she stayed by his side, and I think that that's what got him through. I really do. And then Valerie staggered through the streets and eventually gave herself up to a traffic cop, saying he had too much control over me. What a bizarre thing to say to a traffic cop. The scars and the punctures were a reminder of Valerie. I thought it was all over for me. I truly did. I could not get her out of my mind. But you do. You have to. Hi, Rachel. Drag artist extraordinaire. Well, there were a hell of a lot of parties and there was a hell of a lot of dressing up, and that's how I became myself. I had always known as a kid that I was a little different. Not just that I was aware that I was attracted to guys, silly, but more that I was trapped inside a male body and the desire to break free, to be Rachel, right? A lot of guys were wearing dresses. There was a lot of sex. There was a lot of orgy activity, and it was a really wild time. It was just about anything was acceptable, and there was a lot of craziness with all the chaos, the wild, turbulent chaos. And I think it was this that was the catalyst for my eventually being able to have boyfriends, sexual relationships, the thing that I was so terrified of, so very afraid of. Oh, thank you for the dance, Harry. But I'm so sorry. I am in love with somebody else. Oh, look, I like you. No, I think you're cute. I guess I'm only half a person. I don't know what I want from a relationship. I guess I feel good about being myself. As Andy says, do everything. Freedom to me, Harry, is wearing the dresses that I love, being the woman that I am, and Andy gives me the freedom to be that, to live that, and to do everything that you can possibly be. David Bowie. Huh. Did he truly imagine that I would swoon and or run into his arms with his long, flowing hair and his desperado desire to be in with me? Okay, so I was envious of his creative flair, his pop icon image, and his songs. In truth, I liked his music, I really, truly did, but I was not going to tell him that. I was laughing hard inside when I saw the look on his face as I, ignored him, as I quite deliberately snubbed him totally. Why, I hear you ask, why on earth would you do that to Bowie? Well, it is because I am a bitch. A real hard-nosed bitch. Oh, David was so pissed with me after that. And a long time before we met, David actually went to the trouble of actually writing a song about me. And I loved that, I really did. But to be very truthful and honest with you, I also hated him for it at the same time. I guess the two people I wished that I could be at that time were Lou Reed and David. Even though I still now receive a lot of praise from my pop art, for my iconic reputation, and my flaws, because they just simply did it better than me. Disagree? Surprised that I said it at last? Don't be. Oh, please do not be. Lou was a big influence upon me, and I was upon him too. I loved Lou's philosophies. He had a way with language. You gotta be hip to be square. I guess that kind of sums it all up, doesn't it? But I do confess that I was jealous of his mastery of pop art. Oh, you were always a complex guy, Andy. I never told you, but I was always very aware that you wanted to be me. Yeah, that's right. I kept that to myself with my command of language and the dark shades of lilac, of the pop poetry that astounded you. It seemed to envelop you and wrap its arms around you as you felt safe, Andy, in the warmth of the cradle of your warm, knowledgeable friend. But I could sense the privilege, The welcome as your voice cracked gently as I whispered words, melody, chords, and rips as the rap poetry seduced you. But hey, remember the drugs? The parties? The women? Remember when Rachel got kicked hard in the balls and his mouth was all bloody and I wanted a doctor to take a look at him? And you always contradicting me, calling him her or she because of the drag artist thing? L.A. was some gig, man. We just gotten back from L.A., which was far out. I recall Keith Richards helped us out with his doctor. Far out, man.